Be the light for your family. Dear mini me, continue to be the light for your family. Do not let disappointment change your behavior. Forgive your family, especially your parents, as you are their firstborn and they are learning how to be parents. So forgive them. They love you and are proud of you. Hey everyone, it's Empress Lanice, and right now you are listening to Dear Empress and Friends podcast. Welcome to Dear Empress and Friends, a podcast on how to live life beyond our own limits. And I'm your host, Empress Lanice. Today, we're going to be talking about being a light for your family. In my book, Dear Empress, You Were Born a Star, I talk about that and just my experience with my family. And for me, I am the oldest. And on both my mom and dad's side, they are no longer together. They split when I was about 2 years old. So I do have a brother on my dad's side and a sister on my mom's side. So I'm the oldest out of the two. And it's been an interesting experience in the sense of like, no family is perfect. And of course, now later in life, I'm understanding that. However, going through it as a kid and a teenager, I really didn't understand that. There were so many different phases. Like I thought of the world of my parents as a kid. Like under age 10, 11, I thought of the world of my parents. I felt like we were the richest, the wealthiest. And you know what? I don't think I thought it was a normal for my parents to be split. I don't think, like, I wanted my dad, to be, in the household, but I don't think it was necessarily where I felt that it was a normal until I started seeing it, of course, on TV. And I think maybe that's when my narrative started to shift as I got older, as a teenager, where I'm just like, well, why? Why is our family dynamic the way that it is? And even, some of the experiences of between me and my mom, but it's the normal teenage experience of where, you just kind of want to do your own thing. And then being that I have a younger sibling, I see how she, raised her a lot differently than how she raised me. So of course, being older, it's like, it's unfair. How come you treat her this way, but didn't treat me this way? But what I realized, and the same thing for my dad, and because I think it was two different experiences as well with my brother and myself. However, I think that I was their firstborn. I was their first tryout. They're, their firstborn that they got to experiment with, and they were learning, they were figuring things out. But I really did hold a lot of resentment with them, which I did express this to them before. So they are aware of this. But I kind of just felt at times like I was abandoned, and not that they weren't physically there, but sometimes I just felt like they weren't emotionally there. But now that I'm older, I understand that they were just trying to figure out life. Like I'm 33 years old and my mom had me when she was 19. So I was already a teenager when she was 33 years old. So if I'm now still trying to get my life together and try to figure it out, I could imagine how my parents were, right? But of course, you don't understand it until you get older. So I'm sure when I have kids, they're going to probably feel the same way about me, and then they're going to get it when they get older. And I guess that's just the cycle of life. However, with that, I also know that there's some generational cycles that I'm breaking, and also more that I'm aiming to break in my family, and even my family as a whole. of like not just my mom and my dad or my siblings, like my whole entire family. Because as a kid, there were like I was that kid that was so excited for Christmas, Thanksgiving, like all the holidays, because I get to be around with the family and watch them play, spades, because I'm a spades player. So, to all my friends and those who are watching, I need y'all to learn how to play spades if you don't know how to play spades. I might consider doing a webinar class on how to play spades. But all jokes aside, I just enjoyed just seeing the family, my cousins, we all coming together. As much as I may have been annoyed sometimes, but it was just dope just to see like we had like a large family and just seeing everybody come together. I got to experience this on my mom's side. I really didn't get to experience this on my dad's side. I'm still learning a lot of my family members on my dad's side. However, there was like a turning point in my family on my mom's side where we stopped having holidays together. And everyone was just saying, like, they're being with their immediate family. And in my mind, as a kid, as a teenager, I'm thinking that, they are my immediate family. I didn't even know there was a such thing as immediate family, is just based on those who are pretty much, I guess, in your household or whoever, like, my mom, my sister, myself, like that's immediate family on as far as on my mother's side. So I didn't know what that meant as a kid. And so I kind of took that to heart, to the point where as I got older, when there were family functions, I stopped going because I felt like they took away those, holiday celebrations. Like we celebrated our birthdays together. We would always go to grandma's house, celebrate everybody's birthday. So to me, it was just one family. And I didn't get it. So I subconsciously, because it wasn't intentional for me to not go to all the other stuff, but I guess I was hurt and I just did not, show up. So I became like, I guess, the quote unquote Hollywood family member who was too busy to go to family events. Now I don't hear much about any. I don't know if there's any that does happen. However, my goal is to shift that narrative. I didn't know. Like, we don't know until we get older, right? We don't realize, why things needed to happen the way it did. And also sometimes we're not aware of how it affects others, whatever decisions that we make. Like sometimes, there's an impact that is unseen to what the current thing that you're trying to prevent from happening. And throughout all of that, I had to learn to still be the light and not be so cold or so upset or so frustrated of that this perfect family that I thought I had, is not so perfect. And it's not in a bad way. We all are imperfectly perfect. And it was just very hard for me, which is where I realized that when I'm a part of different communities, like I kind of, to be honest, I kind of like cling. Because I'm searching for that family dynamic. And then when I don't get that, because it's like, well, technically we're not family, I get disappointed. And I've experienced this in so many different ways with like my friends' family, different communities. Like, I didn't realize that until I got older that I, had these issues. But throughout that, I just understand that everybody's learning, everybody's growing, everybody's figuring it out, even those who are much older than I am, who is like in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s, still, figuring out life, right? There's always, I realize that there's always a rebirth, a new direction, new vision, and we're not going to stay the same. We're not going to be the same. Everything, we're always changing, we're always evolving if we choose to. And so with that is just understanding that's how we are as human beings, and to just continue to be the light with that. Even with my siblings, I don't feel like I was the best big sister. That's my narrative, at least, because by the time they were born, maybe not so much for my brother, but for my sister, like by the time she was born, I was ready to hang out with my friends. I'm in my teenage phase. I don't want to be home. I want to go out. So even though there were times where I did babysit her, I really wanted to be outside. I really wanted to, go out. And when she became a little bit old enough to take out, I still wanted to just be, because now I'm getting older and older, right? So it's like now I can't really take her to certain places. But what's so interesting is that now she is of age that we do actually go to places where the experience is much different. I still don't get to see her much often because now she's the busy one. But I know that if we do want to hang out, we can. And it's just interesting. So I kind of always beat myself up about that. And then the same thing with my brother. We lived in 2 different households. And there was like situations with that. But I could have, as me being the oldest, I could have reached out more. I could have done more. So I've always had these things. So in my book, I just told, my younger self, like, it's okay. And to make an effort, right? You can change the narrative. Even if it's later in life, like it doesn't have to be the same narrative of, whether if it's abandonment or being too busy or being the Hollywood family member or whatever the narrative that is being created, that can always be shifted, at least from your perspective based on your own efforts. And so being the light with family, with all the family drama that everybody has in this world, if we can just be that light so that they can see that there's so much more. Like my goal is to break a lot of habits and practices that my family has that I picked up on that I'm seeing now as an adult, where I'm like, I have to shift this, not for me, but for the next generation, for when I start having kids, for when I start building my family. I don't want them to carry on any of these habits. I'm fortunate to be around individuals and communities that can support me now to get that. And of course, we're in an age of knowledge. There's so much information out there that there's no reason for us to not know how to do anything anymore. It's really now more on us to choose to make a difference, to choose to change, to choose to transform. And I just want to encourage you all, whatever your situation is, to just be the light. Be the light, be the light, be the light. We need each other. And if you be the light when you're in darkness, someone else will be the light. But it's just, remember that you are so much greater than what you see in front of you. You can do more than what your family has ever done in the past. They only knew what they could know how to do. And that's what I had to learn about my parents. They only knew what they could do, whatever they knew how to do. They did their best. And I forgive them for that. And just as I did my best to be a better, be a older sibling, I did my best, and I'm working on being greater at it. It's not easy. However, it's just putting small efforts until it becomes bigger efforts and until it becomes a normalcy. So be the light for your family. Peace. Thank you for tuning in to Dear Empress and Friends podcast on how to live life beyond our own limits. Subscribe to our podcast on your favorite streaming platform. Also, don't forget to get a copy of my book, Dear Empress, You Were Born a Star, that is out now. And also, make sure you follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at Empress Lanice. Peace.